Let's watch a sitcom or something.
No! They're calling it the airborne toxic event.
He won't come this way.
Will we have to leave our home?
Of course not.
How do you know?
I just don't know.
Okay, what if it's dangerous?
Evacuate all places of residence.
We have a situation. All we have to do is stay out of the way.
They're passing us, Dad.
Technically, that's illegal.
Glenn Fisher, your skills and personality are being sadly wasted in this den of imbecility.
I'm not gonna not. This year's the only world that I got. What is that?
The future.
Just give me that.
I promise not to tell anyone. But you almost look happy.
Like what we call a peripheral.
What do you mean?
You think this is a game, but it's real. It just hasn't happened yet.
Started though. Already in my time.
Yes.
Nice place for a stroll.
She has a right to know, Mr. Netherton. A moral right.
Send me the damn code.
What is this?
Our past, your future. A museum of sorts. Each of these shapes represents a different phase of the jackpot.
Why the jackpot?
Gallows humor, I suppose. And it's less portentous than apocalypse.
This is the moment commonly pinpointed as the edge of the cliff, after which there is no turning back. The jackpot was unstoppable. A hack of the North American electrical grid. Complete blackout. Months long, continent-wide. An increasingly common phenomenon, as it turned out, across the globe.
That's just 7 years off in the world. That's just 7 years off in the world.
Experts at the Universal Peace Federation has now issued a warning on the growing threat
of EMP or electromagnetic pulse weapons. Such an attack can knock out virtually all communications and other critical services of countries in a matter of minutes. For long, experts have warned that key electrical infrastructure in the United States remains particularly vulnerable to an electromagnetic pulse attack or EMP, likely to be orchestrated by China, North Korea, or even Russia. A massive explosion of energy over an intended target, much like lightning. But in contrast to other conventional weapons, an EMP explosion does not physically harm humans. What it does, though, is cripple all electronic devices and infrastructure within its radius. The weapon at first is glided directly above an intended target. These weapons, according to the US nomenclature, are classified as high-altitude electromagnetic pulse or HEMP. A HEMP attack can interfere with radio frequency and instantly produce damaging voltage in electronic devices across thousands of miles. It can hinder fuel distribution, transport, food and water supply, and most importantly, communications, especially military communications. Such attacks can permanently immobilize vehicles with modern electronic ignition and control systems. According to an analysis by the Task Force on National and Homeland Security, China already possesses so-called super EMPs. Analysts now fear that China's recent test of a new hypersonic glide vehicle last summer could give it impetus to deploy a high-altitude EMP against the United States. Though the US keeps much of its EMP weapons capability classified, it is known that the US Air Force High-Powered Microwave Advanced Missile Project, or CHAMP, is now being expanded. In October last year, a massive power outage in Mumbai in India brought India's financial capital to a grinding halt. In the wake of the disruption, Chinese hackers were blamed for launching a cyber attack. But it did offer just a sliver of the kind of destruction that a similar attack, in this case through an EMP, could actually achieve.
Pandemic. A filovirus. We called it the blood plague.
Even the dead are a risk. Every departure, a potential new case, as Ebola continues to spread through Uganda.
The epidemic appears to have started around the beginning of September, when people started dying in a small village in the sub-county of Kodimadudu.
The outbreak only declared much later, on September 20th, after a diagnosis in the central Uganda district of Mubende. 2 weeks later, it spread significantly. Yet experts fear there may be dozens of underreported cases.
This is a rapidly evolving picture, very complex.
Uganda is no stranger to Ebola. The last outbreak hit the country in 2019 and only ended a year later as the world was waking up to COVID-19. Experience with the disease, partly why the government has been downplaying it.
I want to reassure Ugandans and all residents that the government has got capacity to control this outbreak, as we have done before.
Uganda has decided against closing public spaces, but it says the same infrastructure and practices used to curb the spread of COVID-19 will be used to keep Ebola in check.
We think that using what we've done before, we should be able to appropriately respond to this current outbreak.
And while the variant responsible for this particular outbreak, the Sudan virus, does not currently have a vaccine, trials could start in 4 to 6 weeks.
There are about 6 vaccine candidates available for the Sudan Ebola virus, which are mostly in very early stages of development. But 3 of them have some human data, some immunogenicity and safety data, and so they can actually proceed to be used in the field.
The idea is to vaccinate health workers and contacts of known positive cases to slow down the spread, a so-called ring vaccination, similar to what was done in the DRC in 2019. Among the vaccine candidates to be trialed is a jab developed by Oxford University, using the same technology employed in the COVID-19 vaccine it developed with AstraZeneca. Among the vaccine candidates to be trialed is a jab developed by Oxford University, using the same technology employed in the COVID-19 vaccine it developed with AstraZeneca. Fresh hope against a deadly disease that has ravaged African nations for decades.
Attack the viscera, the liver, spleen, intestines, filling with blood till the abdomen burst.
Environmental catastrophe, droughts, famine, antibiotic failure.
Agricultural collapse followed.
Full population collapse.
About more than 7 billion people, over 4 decades or so. And then came the end. A domestic terrorist attack in the United States. They blew up a nuclear missile silo. Spring Creek, North Carolina. Spring Creek, North Carolina.
That's where I live.
You okay? You get us bodies.
global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes. Now, part of the reason for this is that we have invested a huge amount in nuclear deterrence, but we've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic. We're not ready for the next epidemic. Let's look at Ebola. I'm sure all of you read about it in the newspaper. Lots of tough challenges. I followed it carefully through the case analysis tools we use to track polio eradication. And as you look at what went on, the problem wasn't that there was a system that didn't work well enough. The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services. We could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.